Hey everybody, it's been an emotional week, very emotional conversation about business development this week, and a big conflict that wasn't clear right away, but we sorted it out through a couple of conversations. The battle between exploiting versus exploring. This is something I learned in the first 5 years of an experience with a family company, and what's funny about it is in those first 5 years I learned so much. It actually took me the next 20 to realize all the lessons as I was involved and thankful to be able to repeat some of those lessons with many more people over the years. In this conversation this week, the battle between exploiting versus exploring has come down to that idea of how can we create more value for customers. And the first time I saw this, it was an opportunity to look at our customers in a different way, as opposed to saying how much more could we do for them. And I'm going to give you an example of my friend Frank, who he sold his company, had a great company for 15 years. He was working on various different information technologies with hospital systems in particular, the implementation, the integration, all this stuff, the hardware and the wiring and the connectivity and those technology inspired experiences. And what he found after 15 years, and he had to learn this by doing those things. But over 15 years, what he finally recognized was his real strength wasn't really the technology as much as it was how people communicate. And after those 15 years of the struggle of doing a lot of things, like 9 different types of services, he found the one thing that could replace them all. And that was the exploring that he had to do, as opposed to, the exploiting of more technologies and the newest technology. It was exploring the actual experience that people who he was serving were struggling with, and the one that he was really best at, and that was how they communicate. And what he realized was it wasn't so much the technologies that he was best at and what they struggled with most. The most valuable thing for them and the most valuable thing for him was how they communicate and misunderstand each other. So he developed a way to partner with a software company to help them resolve the way that doctors often use different ways to describe the same cancer and whether or not it's present, for a better patient experience and better outcomes at the patient level and at the physician level. And it was this transformational kind of a thing. And this is what kind of we were diving into and battling with throughout the week this week, was this idea of how can we monetize, how can we exploit customers given other needs that they have that maybe we can do, but we're not even sure because we don't know too much about them. And it reminded me of back in those first 5 years, how important it was to listen to people and maybe ask some questions, whether it be in the context of a new sale, or maybe it's the context of that ongoing relationship and that customer experience, to be that curious person along the way and maybe listen for something they're talking about, or ask more to just understand what their experience is, more than whether or not they're satisfied with your service, but what else is going on. Be that curious person, like you might have a conversation with a person over a cup of coffee or lunch, where you're interested in learning more, not necessarily looking how you can sell more features and benefits and pass out that stupid leave behind or those brochures that nobody cares about or they use as a coaster on their desk. And it was that experience with a person named Peter back in those early 5 years for me. He didn't work with us as a client, but he knew about our reputation of integrity. And rather than wanting to buy the physical evidence from our testing, he wanted to buy our knowledge. And so many people were skeptical. They thought he was going to, catch us in a gotcha moment because we didn't have the evidence to fall on. And everybody thought that it was all about the physical evidence, because if we have the evidence, it's a black and white kind of a solution. But doing a literature review and interpretation using the same knowledge we use with evidence wouldn't be as valuable for them. And it turns out it was a lot more valuable. He would pay 3 times more. We could get it done 3 times faster. That's what Frank found with his company, and it transformed his future entirely, which led to an unexpected sale, because it was a great partnership with a great strategic partner, recognizing what he did best and what the customer actually needed most. So it wasn't so much that battling over a commodity. It was recognizing something that nobody else saw, or people were just not curious enough to ask about. So the takeaway and how we resolved it this week was to listen more, learn fast, and activate now, but only after you've listened a lot and learned as fast as you can. That was my lesson back in the late 90s. Listen more to people throughout your company. Learn more about that wisdom that's maybe some of that underlying wisdom that's maybe fragmented or within small groups and just not connected well enough in the company. Get your own house in order first, then go out there and start learning from people about what it is their actual experience is or what they desire. And rather than worrying about selling features and benefits, go out and listen to people and then kind of do a match game, as I did and Frank did, between what you do best and what they need most. And that's probably the way you can explore and exploit. You can exploit your tradition, which might be that core value of integrity, and you can explore at the same time and do something that really matters. Rather than innovating by accident, you can innovate with a real intention, and you can transform your company. And as I did, you can end up doubling the revenue by another $40 million in about 2 years. Frank did even better than that. He's an awesome person, and so that's the lesson. That's the lesson today I want to share with you from our emotional conversations leading to a stable outcome. Recognize that it isn't always about exploiting what you have with your tradition to just do more because it's something that's possible. Recognize what's most important by exploring at the same time. And you might find that exploiting isn't really what you want to do anyway. It's probably a waste of time. Explore and recognize what you do best, what they need most, and you and your customers will be better off at the same time. Learn more, listen fast, activate now. Talk to you later.